Welcome back to the program right here on Channel 18 Outside Television. Before we continue talking with Bret Schroetlin here, big thanks to the Granby Chamber of Commerce. Adventure awaits in Granby. They are the central location to Grand County, and they have access to the Rocky Mountain National Park, golf courses, Winter Park Resort. I mean, they are just a wonderful central location. And they also have farmers markets every other Friday night at Brick House 40 from roughly 4 to 7, give or take. So check them out right there in Granby, Colorado. Bret, Grand County's sheriff, it's wildfire season, and it's a big deal around here. Those that aren't familiar, we've got a lot of dead trees from a beetle infestation that's kind of come and gone. Oh, yeah. But now we're left with a lot of very burnable timber standing all over the place, and combine that with a lot of dry temperatures and beautiful sunny days. We have over 300 days of sun in Colorado.
Days, yeah.
And so fires just happen. It's going to be part of life in the mountains. And so let's talk about that a little bit. You have a lot of responsibility to try and help prevent fires, as well as on the back end, if one does happen, we need to pounce on it as quick as possible.
It's kind of a recipe for disaster right now in the wildfire season up here. You know, right now Grand County is safe. However, for the last couple months,
what does safe mean? What makes it safe?
Our conditions are low. Our fire potential is low. We evaluate that every week through the state and local partners, along with the federal partners that we use. Every week we do a conference call.
Let's just jump in why it's low, because we have traditionally our weather patterns help us out a little come July, once we get kind of through that June burn, and we get some good monsoon, some afternoon rains that keep things wet and lush. Is that kind of why they're low right now, or what are some factors that would help that?
Those afternoon rainstorms help. Fuel moistures change, energy release components change. Those type of factors that we look at on a regular basis, they're all actually trending towards the better, and I think a lot of it does have to do with those monsoon afternoon storms that we experience. But it's a hot topic.
Yeah. What's wildfire typically this season? When do we kind of start talking about this and have to start considering?
You know, probably about first part of May, depending on how our snow is for the previous winter, up through sometime in September maybe for us.
Okay, so it's a pretty good long season, and you'll see Smokey the Bear kind of hanging out all over the county. It's the one of many ways you communicate fire danger. So you can always look for a sign if you're, pick up your wood at Safeway and think, uh-oh, fire danger high, you got to pay attention.
Absolutely. And, we try to really educate the public on extinguishing campfires, making sure those campfires are really out before you leave your campsite, not starting campfires, /piles, anything like that, close to combustible materials. Because that does happen.
What are some calls you might get on a campfire? How big are we talking? Like, what are some poor decisions some people make? Because you just have a nice little fire, and
So our standard campfire, 3 by 3, somewhere in there. Some of these, 8-10 feet in diameter, and
just monsters,
which
has no real purpose. I mean, you're getting way more heat than you would ever need.
Way more heat than you need, and those embers and those flames just aren't controllable at that point, and they just go in every different direction. And especially if it's dry, those embers can fly and go for a long ways before they actually start a fire.
So somebody's hanging the sign that says fire danger low, medium, high. Who's making that decision? Where's that stemming from?
Usually it's the Forest Service or BLM. They'll kind of review that. They're kind of the experts in the field. They look at that. They do a lot of the samplings of the sage. They do samplings of the energy release components. And so they'll do these tests, and then they'll relay those tests to us, local partners.
Who are the local partners?
The sheriff's office, the fire departments, emergency management. We are actually, in Colorado, it's actually unique. So in Grand County, we have 5 fire districts.
Okay.
East Grand, Granby, Grand Lake, Parshall, and then Kremling. And each one of those districts has a response area that they're responsible for. However, there's areas in the county that are outside those fire districts. And so if a wildland fire happens outside of those districts, then we rely on them to provide the expertise in fighting the fire, but that actually falls under me as the sheriff, as the fire warden, for fire response outside of those areas.
So we had a pretty dry June, encroaching 4th of July, which is always a big time to have that discussion with all the fireworks going off. So who's making the decision if there's going to be a fire ban or not?
So all of us kind of put our heads together. Ultimately, the decision lies with myself and the commissioners.
Okay, so you're working with the county commissioners actively.
We do. We work on a weekly basis with them during the summer, providing them fire updates.
So high, low, whatever it might be, you and the commissioners sit down every week
I usually give them a briefing, especially if it's high. If it's low or moderate, a lot of times we don't. But once those conditions get high, this year we probably started about, it was right before the 4th, give or take a little bit. I'd go over there and update them with the conditions, and then we monitor it.
Now, there were some fire bans in the greater area this June, is that correct?
There was.
In Grand County, we never did have a fire ban.
No, so we use a matrix with 7 different criteria on it. And in order for us to put a fire ban in place or restrictions in place, we try to at least meet 4 of those criteria. And just because Clear Creek County, Routt County, Jackson County is in fire restrictions, there's such wide variance of conditions, it doesn't necessarily mean that Grand County needs to be.
Okay.
It depends on the weather, the projected weather, all of these other different types of components that we look for. But the public perception is that once our surrounding counties go into a fire ban, we should do the same. And this proven strategy in this matrix helps us determine whether or not we should be in fire restrictions. We always tell people to be extra vigilant in the summer. We really focus on the education piece.
And speaking of that, before we end the interview here, what are some tips you might be able to throw out? Just, one, don't have an obnoxiously big fire. 2, put the fire out. We covered those 2. Are there any other kind of tips that help mitigate the risk, just being knowledgeable?
Common sense. We just ask people for common sense.
Don't flick that cigarette butt out the window of your car if you can help it. It's going to go into some dry, what have you.
Cigarettes cause a lot of fires. If you see smoke, call us or text us.
Even if you don't know, it's better to call and let someone know.
Let us know. But the biggest tip is just use common sense. Is the wind gusting 20 or 30 miles an hour? Are we expecting extreme heat? Is it going to be a red flag day? Is there other conditions that are favorable towards wildfire?
And I assume anyone can, if they're concerned at all, can call and say, hey, should we have a fire tonight? Is it, if they don't feel comfortable making that judgment, they can always call the office probably.
Sure, call our office, call in the local fire departments. We can tell them what the projected weather is supposed to be and what the conditions are. And then just attend to them. Don't start a fire and go down the street for a beer. Stay there and make sure that fire is put out before you leave.
And is there a burn season for homeowners that want to burn some slash and stuff like that? When do you recommend that?
There is. So that's done through Division of Natural Resources. They set some dates, and depending on their conditions, exactly when those dates fall. But that's done through Natural Resources. They actually do allow burning.
All right. Well, Bret, thanks so much for coming on our show.
You bet.
And we appreciate all you guys do in our county, because you do have, I think you said 1,850 miles, square miles?
1,850 square miles.
So you guys have a huge jurisdiction and a ton of responsibility. So it's just amazing that someone like you is willing to take on that role and give up your life the way you do to the job. So
thank you very much.
So thanks so much, and we'll hope to have you back soon.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Big thanks again to Bret Schroetlin, the Grand County Sheriff. And stick around, because I'm going to be clean shaven, get a nice haircut, and we're going to go hang out with Whittler's Barbershop right there next to Murdoch's in Fraser, and we're looking forward to it. All right, Bret.
Thank you.
Thanks again. So.